You ever get that feeling in your chest? The kind that whispers something is off, even when everything looks normal on the surface? That's exactly where my story begins. I remember standing in our kitchen the night before my wife's girls' trip. She was packing with this strange mix of excitement and nervousness. At first, I brushed it off. Everyone deserves time away with friends. But then she kept checking her phone, turning the screen away each time I walked by. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was small. But it stayed with me, and that night, while she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, trying to understand why my heart felt heavy. I didn't suspect anything specific. I just felt disconnected from someone. I thought I knew better than anyone else. Little did I know that uneasy feeling was the first clue that my world was about to shift completely. The morning she left for the trip, I tried to shake off the heaviness in my chest. I told myself I was overthinking, that stress was getting the better of me. She hugged me goodbye, but something about the way she held on just a second too long made my stomach twist. It felt like she was carrying a secret, one she hoped I wouldn't notice. A few hours later, I got a message from one of her friends, the kind of message that stops your entire world. She casually asked how my wife was feeling after canceling on the group last minute. My heart dropped. I reread the text at least 5 times, hoping I misunderstood. But it was clear. My wife never showed up for the trip she'd been preparing for all week. I tried calling her, but her phone went straight to voicemail. That silence felt louder than any argument we'd ever had. My mind raced. Where was she really? When my wife didn't answer any of my calls, something inside me shifted from confusion to concern, and then to a quiet, painful certainty. I remembered that we shared access to our family cloud account. It wasn't something I ever checked. I trusted her completely. But that day, my hands moved before my thoughts did. As the photos loaded, my pulse hammered in my ears. At first, it was just normal pictures. Scenery, old memories, grocery lists she snapped for convenience. Then a new album appeared, one I'd never seen. My chest tightened. Inside were photos taken only hours earlier. She wasn't with her friends. She wasn't anywhere near the city she claimed she'd be in. She was with someone else. They were sitting close, smiling in a way that felt too familiar, too private. There was nothing graphic, nothing inappropriate, but the connection between them was unmistakable and heartbreaking. My breath caught. I felt like the floor beneath me had given out. The truth I never wanted was right there in front of me. I spent the rest of that evening sitting alone in the quiet of our living room, replaying every moment from the past few months. Little changes I had brushed off, late nights, distant conversations, sudden excuses, now connected in ways I didn't want to admit. It wasn't anger that hit me first. It was sadness, a deep sinking sadness that felt like it reached my bones. When she came home the next morning, she walked in with the same cheerful tone she always used after a trip, but this time I couldn't respond. I just looked at her, and for a moment, she seemed confused, until she saw the cloud album open on my phone. Her expression shifted instantly. Not defensive, not shocked, just defeated, like she knew this moment was coming. I gently asked, "Why did you feel you had to hide this from me?" She didn't answer right away. She sat down across from me and whispered, "I never meant for it to get this far." Hearing those words hurt more than the pictures ever could after that confrontation. I felt like my world had tilted. I wasn't just angry, I felt completely unmoored. I spent hours alone, pacing the house, replaying every conversation and every small detail I had once thought was innocent. How could I have missed the signs? The late messages, the vague excuses, the sudden changes in plans. It all made sense now. And yet it hurt so much more seeing the proof laid bare. I realized something important in those quiet hours. My feelings were valid, but so was hers. People make mistakes even when those mistakes break trust. My heart sank thinking about the person I had trusted, loved, and built a life with. Tears came, not just from the betrayal, but from the grief of seeing a relationship unravel before my eyes. I knew I had a choice: let anger consume me, or take a step back and reflect on what mattered most and what I needed to heal after. The initial shock and heartbreak, I knew I had to make a choice about the future. Staying in denial wasn't an option. Ignoring what had happened would only delay the inevitable. I spent days reflecting on what this marriage meant to me and what I truly needed to feel safe and valued. Every conversation, every memory, every shared dream came back to me, but so did the betrayal. I realized that moving forward meant setting boundaries, not just for her, But for myself, I needed honesty, transparency, and respect if this relationship was to survive. At the same time, I had to acknowledge my own feelings, anger, sadness, confusion, and give myself permission to grieve without guilt. I reached out to a trusted friend and spoke openly, letting my emotions flow. It was terrifying to admit vulnerability, but it was also freeing. For the first time, I felt clarity emerging from the chaos, helping me decide whether forgiveness or separation was the right path. Eventually, I made the decision that felt right for me, whether it was to rebuild trust or walk away. I knew that no choice would be easy, and that healing would take time. But I also understood that my peace of mind had to come first. The weeks that followed were filled with reflection, conversations, and emotional growth. I learned that betrayal doesn't define me, how I respond does. I also realized that honesty, though painful, is liberating. By facing the truth head-on, I gained clarity about myself, my boundaries, and what I truly value in relationships. I began to forgive, not necessarily the betrayal itself, but my own feelings, my mistakes, and the complicated emotions I carried. Looking back, I see how this experience reshaped me, strengthened my self-respect, and taught me the importance of transparency and communication. It's a journey that left scars, yes, but also profound lessons. What would you have done if you discovered the same truth? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your perspective.